A second Uzbek man wanted for questioning in the investigation of Tuesday's attack in New York has been located now. FBI officials did not provide any details on where the man was found or why he was wanted. The FBI on Wednesday issued a wanted poster on Muhammad Zoid Kadyrov, who is a native of Uzbekistan. Officials said Sapov had been in contact with Kadyrov and other person. Kadyrov was located after the wanted poster went out. An Uzbek immigrant suspected of killing 8 people in New York was charged in federal court on Wednesday with acting on behalf of the Islamic State militant group. The suspect, Saifullah Sapov, was hospitalized after the police official shot and arrested him, and he confessed to authorities while in custody that he began planning the attack just a year ago. Now, Sapov was charged with one count of providing material support and resources to a foreign terrorist organization designated as Islamic State, and the other count of violence and destruction of motor vehicles. Senator John McCain, one of the most vocal opponents of President Donald Trump, termed the New York attack as an act of war. McCain in a statement said the New York attacker must be treated as an enemy combatant and is not entitled to Miranda rights, a warning which is usually given by U.S. policemen while they take suspects into custody to preserve, in fact, the admissibility of their statements in criminal proceedings. In the wake of the New York terrorist attack, U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to step extreme wetting to immigrants. Speaking to the media, President Trump said that he will take necessary steps to protect America. He called the New York attacker an animal and said that he would even consider sending him to Guantanamo Bay. Five of 8 dead in the truck attack in New York were Argentine tourists. They were a group of friends celebrating the 30th anniversary of high school graduation in the city. School staff on Wednesday said they were shocked by the news that alumni from the Rosario Polytechnic High School were among those killed in the attack. Flags throughout the city of Rosario, including the school grounds, were at half-mast on Wednesday. The municipality of Rosario has also declared 3 days of mourning. The school, in fact, has planned a vigil to be held to remember the victims. The village of Staden in Belgium was mourning one of the New York attack victims on Wednesday. 31-year-old Anne Lorraine, in fact, was one of the victims of the New York bike path attack near the World Trade Center on Tuesday. The family said that she was riding a bike and apparently was surprised by a vehicle that came from behind. Flags flew at half-mast and a condolence register was also opened at the local community center on a day that Belgium traditionally remembers the dead during All Saints' Day. British Defence Secretary Michael Fallon also resigned on Wednesday over sexual harassment allegations against him. This is the first resignation in a sexual harassment scandal in Parliament. And Fallon quit, saying that his conduct had fallen below the high standards demanded of his position. He apologised earlier this week for touching a radio presenter's knee in 2002. In a letter of resignation to Prime Minister Theresa May, Fallon said that there had been many allegations about lawmakers in recent days, including some about his previous conduct. Amid Hollywood's widening sexual harassment crisis, Oscar-winning Dustin Hoffman apologized for allegedly sexually harassing a 17-year-old intern in 1985. Writer Anna Graham Hunter, in fact, alleged that the now 80-year-old actor had groped her on the set of a film and talked about sex to her. Hoffman has issued a statement apologizing for anything that might have put her in an uncomfortable situation. Director and producer Renta has also been accused of sexual misconduct by 6 women, including actors Natasha and Olivia Munn. The Rush Hour actor and director has also been accused of behavior ranging from sexual assault to harassment that took place in a private home, movie sets, as also industry events. Refugees, mainly Syrian women and children stranded in Greek camps, protest against delays in reuniting with relatives in Germany. They pitched tents outside the country's parliament and said they were starting a hunger strike. The refugees say that they have been waiting several months to more than a year for, in fact, reunification with families who are already in Germany, despite receiving assurances from the Greek government. To boost its immigration policy, Canada will welcome nearly 1 million immigrants over the next 3 years. This according to a plan offered by the Liberal government. Immigration minister said the ratio of workers to retirees is shrinking and immigration can help close that gap. Reports suggest that the number of economic migrants, family reunifications and refugees will climb to 310,000 in 2018. Residents of Marawi City in the South City of Philippines are returning to the wreckage of their homes. It follows the militant siege that lasted 5 months, left more than 1,100 people dead and sparked 5 years of Islamic State group gaining a foothold in Southeast Asia. Returning residents questioned whether the valuables were while the military fought those militants. Two Russian athletes have been banned for life from Olympics, and cross-country gold medalist Alexander and fellow countryman Evgeny also have all been banned over doping at the Sochi 2014 Winter Games. The two athletes were the first Russians to be sanctioned anti-doping rule violations. This following an IOC probe into allegations of widespread doping among Russians and sample tampering by lab and security officials to giving them an edge. Ukrainian police have detained more than 50 people after a bar brawl broke out between fans of Dutch and Ukrainian soccer teams. And there were 40 Dutch citizens among those detained. The bar's interior was destroyed and its windows smashed in the fire. The brawl took place ahead of the Champions League match between the two teams on Wednesday. 52 people have been taken in for questioning at the local police headquarters in Kharkiv in connection with the incident. Amid the Brexit negotiations, the Bank of England has warned that 10,000 jobs could be lost in the British financial industry on the first day after Brexit. And in fact, Sam Woods, the deputy governor of the bank, based his estimates of 10,000 job losses on response that he received from 400 banks and financial firms required to provide him with their contingency plans for a hard Brexit. He said that the initial impact would be about 10,000 roles, amounted to 2% of the total employed in the bank and insurance jobs. Woods also admitted that forecasts of 75,000 job loss over the long term were plausible. It is predicted that the United Kingdom will be left to rely on World Trade Organization rules with no transition period after March 2019 when the UK officially leaves the European Union. Meanwhile, the US envoy to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said the United States will not tolerate Pakistan providing safe haven to terrorists. She backed the creation of a strategic alliance with India to fight terrorism and maintain peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. And addressing the 20th annual legislative conference of the Indian-American Friendship Council, Haley added that US recently embarked on a new strategy for combating terrorism in Afghanistan and South Asia. Six long-range strategic bombers took off from their bases in Russia to hit militant targets in the Syrian province of Deir al-Zor on Wednesday. The Tu-22M3 planes flew over Iran and Iraq to hit the targets, which included terror strongholds and depots with weapons and ammunition. Video published by the Russian Defense Ministry shows bombs being loaded into the planes and also being dropped from the aircraft. Russia intervened in the Syrian war in 2015 in support of the President Assad and also now hopes to build on the collapses of the Islamic State to launch a political process to end their 6-year-old conflict. The presidents of Russia, Iran and Azerbaijan discussed security of the region during this trilateral meeting in the Iranian capital city on Wednesday. The three leaders said they would work closely to bring regional stability and find a positive resolution to the war in Syria. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said the cooperation of the three countries had helped the fight against terrorism in the region. The World Health Organization intervenes to help countries prepare for plague outbreak that has infected around 1,200 people. An outbreak of pneumonic plague in Madagascar infected, remember, 1,200 people, causing 124 deaths since the start of August. 9 countries and territories with trade and travel links to Madagascar have been advised to review the protocols for, the area affected. The WHO said that this was normal practice and not directly linked to the risk of the disease spreading. The plague is endemic to parts of Madagascar, with around 500 cases reported annually, but the recent outbreak has reached densely populated cities. News coming in from India now. 20 people have been killed and dozens have been injured after a boiler exploded in the newest power generating unit at NPTC plant in Raebareli in Uttar Pradesh. Authorities fear the number of dead may rise and many are believed to be trapped inside the unit. And the unit had started operating in March, and now after the mishap, the plant has been shut. The National Disaster Response Force has also been sent by the centre to help rescue effort. The King of Bhutan and his wife are on a 4-day goodwill visit to India. Both India and Bhutan have agreed to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of the establishment of former diplomatic relations between the two countries next year. The President of India has extended an invitation to the Majesties, the King and the Queen of Bhutan, to pay a state visit to India during the celebrations of the Golden Jubilee year. India's Civil Aviation Ministry has released draft rules for drone use. The draft proposed to allow commercial use of drones and also allow children to fly small drones without registering them or requiring a license for them. The ministry has also listed out some areas where drone flying by private individuals is prohibited due to aviation safety and security reasons. The final and formal civil aviation requirements for drone is expected to be in place by December after consultation with stakeholders. According to the first ever Gender Vulnerability Index, the safest state to be a woman in India is Goa, followed by Kerala, Mizoram, Sikkim and Manipur. The study says that where women are the most vulnerable, in fact, are Bihar, Jharkhand and of course Uttar Pradesh and Delhi. The report has been prepared by Plan India and released by the Women and Child Development Ministry. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's petition will be heard in the Supreme Court today. It's a constitutional bench, and the plea will argue that the Lieutenant Governor is only a figurative or an administrative head of the state and is not bound to act only on the advice of the Chief Minister-led Council of... in fact, the government in 2016 had challenged a judgment by the Delhi High Court that said that the LG is an administrative head of the state and that he is not bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers under him. India's top court has asked the centre to set up special courts exclusively for lawmakers and decide such cases expeditiously within a year. The move is an attempt to put an end to the indoctrinate delay in prosecution of politicians. It also comes after the Election Commission for the first time called for debarring convicted Member of Parliament and Member of Legislative Assemblies from contesting polls for life. Central government has reiterated that linking of Aadhaar cards to ration cards is not mandatory. And this comes after the death of an 11-year-old Santoshi Kumari in Jharkhand who died after being refused ration from local PDS shop after her family's Aadhaar number was allegedly linked to the ration cards. With Gujarat elections round the corner, the Aam Aadmi Party will be holding its 5th annual National Council meet in the national capital. The agenda of the meet is to streamline the organisation before the polls and is significant in the backdrop of the internal turbulence that the party witnessed last year. Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia will be showcasing the performance of his government since 2015. South Africa's National Prosecution Authority, or the NPA, will on Friday seek a longer jail term for disgraced Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius over the murder of his girlfriend Riva. Now, Pistorius was convicted of culpable homicide for shooting her in 2014. But an appeals court upgraded the conviction to murder in 2015 and he was handed a 6-year-old jail term, which the prosecution has called shockingly low for the crime of this magnitude. The lawyer of exiled NFL star Colin Kaepernick has said that he expects the quarterbacks to be signed up by a team over the next 10 days. The 29-year-old, who was the first player to kneel in protest during the American national anthem, has been without a team since he opted out of the contract with San Francisco 49ers in March. And last month, he filed a grievance against the NFL team owners, alleging a conspiracy to not sign him because of his protests against racial injustice.